So, of course, Shadowkeep is around the corner, and I, for one, am looking forward to seeing how this DLC will turn out, especially with the changes to the annual pass format. I'm really curious on how Destiny 2 will turn out with this Year 3 format that they're going for. But with a lot of the excitement for this new DLC coming out, there's a lot of concerns that I've also been having as well. One of them, of which that I have in the title above, is about a bright dust famine. Now, I know a lot of people would like me to just talk about the good stuff, and trust me, I know. A lot of my videos are a lot of negative things about Eververse and all this other stuff, but the reason why I do this is because I want to criticize a game that possibly might be doing something very consumer friendly. It's not nice to the community. It's backstabbing or this is just not good or anything, because I want to ensure that Destiny is a great game and that a lot of people are looking at a positive standpoint and not a negative standpoint. Let's be honest, there is a difference from complaining and criticizing, and what I'm trying to do is criticize, because I genuinely love Destiny 2 and I want it to succeed. In no ways am I just talking about this just to get clicks for negative kind of press on a video game, but it's rather just me talking about something that I, for one, am genuinely just not really feeling it. So, of course, let's talk about it. The bright dust famine. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, as of right now, bright dust is getting a little bit harder to get, at least when it comes to the free event that we got recently. If you haven't already noticed, when the free event came out, the Solstice of Heroes event came out, instead of getting 2 engrams at drop of leveling up, we only got the 1, which was the best of year 1 engram that we've been getting. Originally, how it used to be was that whenever there was a free event, you were given a engram of that season and an engram of that free event. And that was actually pretty good of a idea, because one of the things that people get annoyed about is feeling that these quote-unquote free events are very pushed on the Eververse store, and mainly just that. But when it came to the double engram drop format, it didn't really feel like that, because people were more than likely guaranteed to get something that they wanted that's during that event if they were playing every single week on all 3 characters. And on top of that, if you didn't get something you wanted, you were able to purchase it with Bright Dust. That was great, because one thing when it comes to Bright Dust, there's many ways of getting it, but the best way of getting it is dismantling your Eververse items. When you turn in a bright engram, what do you get? Maybe a ghost shell, an exotic emote, an exotic ship, whatever, some shaders. And if you don't want it, if it's a duplicate, if it's just something you just aren't interested in, you can dismantle it, and it turns into Bright Dust. And the more that you do this, the more that you're just like, I don't want this, I don't need this, and you dismantle and dismantle, the more amount of Bright Dust you're getting. You're getting a giant surplus of Bright Dust. I mean, I, for one, have a ton of Bright Dust. But one of the things that I was afraid of right off the bat was the Tribute Haul. I mean, you may not look at this way, but I did. Basically, the Tribute Haul felt like a manipulative kind of tactic where they knew that everyone in the Destiny community is not patient. They won't sit there, try and get the full discount on the tributes, and just go all out, purchase all the things, go through all the materials, and put down the tributes to get the catalyst for bad juju. And one of those tributes, one of the section of tributes, required Bright Dust, which made me a little bit worried, because Bright Dust as a currency should only be used for cosmetics, not as a means to get forward through a grind or to get anything that would be considered a pay-to-win kind of way, because it's supposed to be a currency sided with the loot store, the microtransaction store. The fact that it was separated on it made me very concerned. Again, I know that a lot of you are probably like, no big deal, I still have a lot of Bright Dust, you didn't have to just throw yourself out there, but it's not about that. This stuff can affect you, because once companies dip their toe in, they might just step their whole entire body into it when it comes to certain tactics that are not so community friendly on their game. And this tactic alone just kind of didn't feel right. It didn't feel respective on Bungie's end, where they were like, well, we want to reward those who are going to grind a lot. Instead, they were like, well, those who have a lot of materials, get rid of them because we know you're going to, by not doing this long, tedious grind to bring up the, discount to get this thing without, like, the catalyst without going through all your materials. I, for one, didn't bother with spending too much on the materials, but I did at least to get bad juju. That's what sucked. But here's the thing. I know that a lot of you are not like, oh, whatever. But then we move on to Solstice of Heroes, which in free events, normally the format was we got 2 bright engrams per leveling up. 1 for the season and 1 for the free event. This was a great format, even though I don't like loot boxes, but it was a great format because you were guaranteed to chance on getting something for free that you want from the Eververse store during that free event. But sadly, with Solstice of Heroes, we did not get that. We didn't even get any sort of compensation for the removal of bright engrams for the new seasons and stuff. We didn't get like, oh, now you'll get 2 year 1 best of year 1 engrams. Instead, it was just, you still just got 1 engram on drop, and that was it. It was really disappointing because also I noticed the prices for the things in the stores as well, especially on the glows. 5,000 bright dust per glow is a lot. 1,500 bright dust is a lot of bright dust to go through, even if you have a large surplus, because normally an exotic ghost shell, exotic ship, if you wanted to buy it for free, was around like 2,600 bright dust or so, and that's normally easy to get if you're dismantling tons and tons of Eververse items, especially during these free events when you're getting 2 of them. Now here comes the big kicker. When it comes to Shadowkeep, this is where I mainly am concerned. They're removing the format of dismantling things that are Eververse items to turn it into bright dust. Instead, it's turning into legendary shards and glimmer. Now, that sounds great because this also means that purchasing things from the collections back is not going to be ridiculous with the bright dust. And that is one of the things that Bungie wants you to hear. They want you to hear the good things. They want you to be like, oh, you know what, this is great. But they don't really want you to go into full force to really look between all the words that are being said to really know what this means. So with that being said, how much bright dust are we going to get per bounty? They did say that bright dust, how to get it, will be based on these bounties, the daily bounties. They didn't go into full detail, and I find that very weird. I mean, one of the things that I would feel like they would try and do ahead of time is let us know, okay, how much bright dust are we going to get? I mean, they were more than eager to let us know that there won't be any XP throttling when it comes to the battle pass. That's great and all, but what about the bright dust amounts? Are we going to still get a giant surplus of bright dust, especially during these quote-unquote free events? I know that people may say, well, wait and see. And trust me, I'm in the same boat. But this is why this is a concern video, not a this is happening. Because I want to give Bungie the benefit of the doubt because I like what they're saying, but if they're not going to if they're going to be doing things that are shady behind the scenes, it's pretty manipulative. And I don't like that out of Bungie. I don't want to see them be like that because I already see tons and tons of press just shooting out there with articles about how their microtransaction store is super greedy and this and this. And trust me, we know this because it's happened multiple times during Destiny 2 Year 1. We don't want it to happen again. And I know a lot of you are like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. But to those hardcore Destiny fans out there, I want you to know that one of the great things about having a connection with a company, with a game that you love, is knowing that the company respects you and respects that you are putting so much time and effort in their game. And one thing that Bungie could do that's very different than everyone else that's doing is respecting their community and time that they put in the game to ensure that, oh, Well, if you're playing the game a lot, you won't have to spend a lot of money on microtransactions when we do these fun free events, because you'll have a lot of bright dust, because you've shown that you respect our game. You respect to purchase every season and be a part of that, so you're going to have tons of bright dust as a thank you. Having you play day in, day out, and do these daily bounties every single day or whatever, and not have that much bright dust feels cheating. It feels like they're trying to push the whole idea of being like, yeah, we want you to spend silver on our items all the time, and we're going to ensure that certain emotes are very overpriced. That's just not right to me. It doesn't feel right. I mean, do you agree with me? So, when it comes to Shadowkeep, I'm worried about how the format's going, because right off the bat, there's some red lights that are definitely going off because of, one, as I said, they don't tell us how much bright dust we're getting from the bounties. They're not even telling you how much bright dust we'll get after the fact, because they said that, oh, even if you get all the bounties done, there'll be other means of getting bright dust. And it seems as of right now, it's just the battle pass thing format that they have. And if you were paying attention, not every single level up do you get bright dust. It's like every 5 or 10 levels you get some bright dust. And get this, it's only 100. You get 100 per, like, legendary ghost shell that you dismantle. Remember that. And you get that within every single time you leveled up on a character, because you got a bright engram. Normally, every time you leveled up, you were getting around, I would say, 100 to 500 bright dust within that period of time. If they were able to keep that, and with how they're doing the bounties and stuff, maybe it won't be that bad, depending on how much bright dust they're going to have you pay for. Have to use to pay for certain things, like how they were doing with Solstice and stuff, because they could just bump up the prices in bright dust if they decide to give us more bright dust. But here's the thing, also with how the bright dust works and stuff, when it comes to the free events, I feel like there needs to be a format where they compensate the removal of the double engram drop. So this portion of the video, I want to talk about alternatives, ways of ensuring that bright dust is not going to be feeling like we're on the FAMINE modifier, okay? One of the things I would say is making sure that bounties do drop bright dust, but don't make it too small. And if you do make it too small, then don't advertise that being the biggest way of getting bright dust. I feel like the best thing for you to do is allowing that bright dust is easy to get through playing the game, how it was with just leveling up and dismantling things originally. So maybe have, daily bounties drop bright dust, but if you're somebody that doesn't want to deal with the bounties, maybe every time you level up, you get a surplus of bright dust. And when it comes to these free events, instead of doing the double engram drop idea, because obviously that's not going to work, maybe have every single time you level up, you get like 500 bright dust or something. Or maybe have the bounties that are going on during this event drop a lot of bright dust every time you complete them. Not 10 bright dust, like I'm talking like 100 bright dust per bounty or more, actually, because I feel like that would be very, very fair, depending on the difficulty as well. Because that's the other thing that I worry about. Let's be honest, the Eververse bounties, who does them? I mean, really? Are you going to go do like 5 Gambit matches and kill 40 enemies for literally 50 bright dust? I don't think so. Neither, I won't. That's just tedious and boring. It feels like the bounties for Eververse is purposely made that way, so you're not going to have a giant surplus of bright dust. So if they're going to have these daily bounties have bright dust tied to them, they better be something like, just get some precision kills, or here's some melee kills, or, whatever that would be, I would say, doable without being tedious or anything like that. And again, making sure that there's enough bright dust in there. So, I don't know. I think that one of the things that I want people to know is that I'm just criticizing the idea of this possibly being a thing. The reason why I think that this could be a thing is because they're not going into detail, and that's normally a red light situation. And on top of that, it's just, when you think about the format of what they're showing off right now with how the battle pass kind of thing is looking, the season pass thing, with how much bright dust we're going to get, per like 5 or 10 levels, it just doesn't seem right. Why would we only get 100 bright dust after 5 or 10 levels? Like, that's not enough to be equal to what the amount of bright dust that we get now. Because I think that it's okay for Bungie to have the microtransaction store. I'm not trying to say that they should remove it, but them also pushing Eververse being in the director other than, you know, vendors and their bounties like we would assume that they would do. I know a lot of people would be like, but what's the point of the tower if you could just get bounties through the director or whatever. It's called to turn in things like tokens and pick up quests and stuff. Maybe you do have to actually go to the tower for. That would be a good reason to go to the tower. And even then, down the road, they should turn the tower into an actual social space where you're LFG basically embedded in the game. I don't know. But again, there's many means of where this would make sense of being a worry, but there's other reasons where this could not. Because we don't know yet. I even stated that what happens when we get to level 100 in the season pass, in the annual pass system. Do we get a lot of bright dust after that? That would be a great idea, but we don't know yet. We have to wait and see. But this is something that I worry about. I'm not here to poop on Luke Smith's parade or anyone that works on Bungie. I really, really don't. But if they are honestly here to tell me, oh, and you know, the community, like, we're all about you guys, like, we want to respect you guys, we don't want to do stingy stuff, we don't want to, you know, be that company that just wants your wallet or anything like that, but then do manipulative practices, that's worse than just putting it in there. Because yes, there's companies that will do some stingy stuff, but they don't try and manipulate to be like, and dangle keys and say, hey, pay attention to this, but don't pay attention to what we're doing behind the scenes with how we're doing bright dust now. I don't like that. I want to see companies that are respecting the community, especially the hardcore end of the community that are playing all the time, doing so much with the game, just doing whatever and purchasing every single season because you want to make them feel like they're valued. And the bright dust system really will show if they value their community. Because if you have to purchase everything in the Eververse store, it's going to be pretty hectic. Because they've already stated that anything cosmetic will be tied to the Eververse store. Which is already worrying because when they were in the poop, if you don't remember, in Destiny 2 Vanilla, they were pushing like the exotic ghost shell that you would get from trials if you go on flawless, like a chance drop. Same thing with the crucible ghost shell that was difficult to get. They had an exotic ship from Zavala. They had actual cosmetics. They had emotes inside the raids that you would get. They were really, really cool. Now they don't do that anymore because they're like, well, everyone's back and they're enjoying Forsaken, so I guess we don't really need to focus anymore. That's okay, but if you're going to be very stingy with your Eververse store, that's a different story. So I didn't want to make this video very long, I do apologize, but I plan on doing uplifting videos as well about talking about things that I actually am genuinely excited about Shadowkeep. But again, this just seemed like a topic that I needed to talk about because I don't see many other content creators or other streamers that play Destiny talk about this. I don't know if it's just me, but I really feel like this is a big deal because if they focus the Eververse store so much and work so much on making these cosmetics, that time to make that really, really cool cosmetic that the purchase for 10,000 silver could be focused on making a really cool exotic weapon or a crucible map or a strike. Because let's be real, a lot of these cosmetics take time to make. So if they were to focus that energy and effort onto things that we would actually like to see, that's where this gets a little bit in the uh-oh section of like, yeah, I get that. So I would like to know your thoughts down in the comments down below on this issue. Like if you agree, if you disagree. And if you disagree, I want to know why. I want to know exactly why. And if you just say, just don't buy it, please, for the love of God, stop making those excuses because look at EA right now. People are not buying their games, but yet they're still doing those things. I mean, people are not really enjoying playing a lot of video games from EA because they do these things, and we don't want that to happen with Destiny. We don't want to be waiting till Destiny 5 for them to finally get, oh, everyone's mad about the Eververse store. Maybe we should stop that for Destiny 6. Because I don't know how many battlefields it's going to take for them to stop doing stupid stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. But either way, thank you so much for listening. Of course, you all have a chibi-tastic day. And again, I want to know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you so much. Chibi out.